Hey y'all, it's Myria Com again. Happy to have you here. Thanks for listening. Should probably start saying that at the beginning, just in case people don't listen the whole way through. Oh, silly me. Anyway, this is gonna have to be a quick one because I have stuff to do tonight, and I only have like an hour, less than an hour. So, we'll see. I might not get this done before I have to go do the stuff. So, maybe I will do it, like edit and upload and stuff after I get back. But I also have stuff to do tomorrow night, so I don't want to leave this for like all week and not do anything. So, in not my last recording, but the one before, which was the long one, I read a bunch of cards, greeting cards, and a note that my mom has sent me over the past year that I have been no contact with my parents. And that may have been a mistake, because I've been thinking about that note pretty much since I read it, so that's been like an all-week thing. It's not, like, it hasn't been at the forefront of my mind the whole time, but it has been in the back of my mind. You know, like, amidst all of the work stress that's been going on lately and all of that fun stuff. Because work has been very, very stressful and annoying. This week has been really stressful. Last week was really stressful. It's just a stressful time, and it's just apparently how it's gonna be. But yeah, so I've been thinking about that pretty much all week. And, like, I've mentioned before, and maybe it is starting to come through now, that, like, I need time to think about stuff, but I always, like, think of stuff later, too. Like, I need time to analyze things, I need time to think a little bit, and that sort of thing. So, I knew that her note bothered me, and I knew there were a lot of reasons it bothered me, but I couldn't immediately formulate all of the reasons why. Not formulate. I couldn't, like, immediately explain all of the reasons why, and I needed time to think about it. So, as annoying as it has been that I have been thinking about it all week, and, like, I don't want to be thinking about my parents all the damn time. Part of the reason I went no contact with them is that I wouldn't have to think about them anymore, and wouldn't have to be stressed, and wouldn't have to stress about what they're doing, or thinking of, or saying, or whatever. Or what I'm gonna talk about with them the next time we talk, or anything like that. Like, it was... I wanted to not have to think about any of that stuff anymore, and that's part of the reason I went no contact with them. So, it's frustrating that I've been thinking about this stupid note all week, but here we are. So that's been, like, a frustrating thing, but also, I sort of feel like that's just what was gonna happen, and I shouldn't have read the note. I shouldn't have read her stupid cards, but I did, and it was frustrating, but also, I know I would have been thinking about them existing if I hadn't read them, so it defeated the purpose either way, and now I know what the note says, so, and I can work through it, and I can address the problems that I have with it. But another thing that kind of brought this to the forefront is that last night, after I went to bed, so I saw it this morning, my mom sent me a Facebook friend request. And yeah, I'm an old person, I'm on Facebook, haha, what's wrong with me? But I have to have it for work, for one thing. But another thing is, I still use it. It is the one way I am in contact with some people, so just gotta do it. But yeah, so she sent me a friend request on Facebook, and I am assuming this happened because, like an idiot, I posted some pictures from my birthday, and I tagged my sister and brother-in-law in them. Now, obviously I am not friends with my parents on Facebook right now. When I went no contact with them, I, unfriended them. So, ta-da. Terrible me. I know I'm a horrible person. Whatever. And I assumed that they wouldn't care or notice and that they would get the message because I was going no contact with them, and silly me, thought they would understand. Thought they would just leave me the hell alone. Silly me. But since I tagged my sister and brother-in-law in these pictures from my birthday, my mother saw them and commented on them and stuff. And I assume that made her realize we aren't friends, or reminded her that we aren't friends on Facebook or whatever, so she sent me a friend request. When I saw that this morning, I rejected it right away, and then I was like, maybe I need to also block her, because then she wouldn't see my stuff even if I tag other people in them, I think. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, it's just a kind of frustrating thing, and it, like, made me think about all of this stuff even more today. So, yay me. But I have, like, gotten to the point where I understand a little bit more about what about her note frustrated me. There is, like, and there are a couple of things, and one of them that I already mentioned is that in that note, she ignores all of the, like, problems. She doesn't address any of them, and that is both a generational thing and a Midwestern thing. So, people in her generation tend to do that. They tend to think that you can just move on from stuff and just not address it, and then it just is gonna go away, and that's just fine. People in my generation are less willing to just ignore things and pretend they're not happening. So, there's that. And that's also a Midwestern thing. Midwesterners, generally speaking, don't like conflict. They don't like open conflict, at least, so they will just pretend everything's fine and pretend nothing is a problem, and will usually, like, not address issues because they just want to pretend they are not issues. There's a lot of passive aggressiveness in Midwestern culture. There's a lot of talking about things behind people's backs because people don't want the actual conflict of actually dealing with problems. Now, that is not good, because conflict can be very healthy, and also, you should actually, address problems and deal with them instead of pretending they are not problems. Because if I just say, yeah, whatever, let's just pretend everything is fine, and we're just different people, then the same stuff is gonna keep happening. And then it will be a problem again, because it is happening again. So, that is one of the problems I have mentioned, one of the things I have mentioned. There have been a number of times I have said, hey, can you not do this thing anymore? It really bothers me. And they will say, oh yeah, I won't do that anymore. And then they do it again. And, like, this is the problem. If you just pretend that it is not a problem in order to move past it quickly, then it's gonna happen again. Because you don't think it's a problem because we just moved past it. You have to actually address it and deal with it. But anyway, that I already knew was part of why it bothered me, because she was just trying to pretend nothing was happening, and it's fine. It is not fine. We need to stop doing that. But the other thing that really bothers me about it, that I could not put my finger on before, is the problems that I specifically mentioned to them in my note to them, in my letter to them. The problems that I specifically mentioned to them were problems of, like, bigotry and discrimination. And then a couple of things that were, like, specific to me, but mostly bigotry and discrimination. And her answer to that is, we're just different people, which basically means we just have different opinions. And that is not okay. Because a differing opinion is, my favorite color is green, and yours is red. That's a differing opinion, okay? That is what a different opinion is. saying things like, you are, like, this person is lesser than me because they are a different color than me, is not a differing opinion. That just means you're a bigot. That just means you're a racist. Saying this person is lesser than me and potentially a terrible person because they are trans, that is not just a differing opinion. That is you being a bigot and being a transphobe. That's discrimination. That is not just a different opinion. And I am not okay with that. And it pisses me off that she's saying these are just different opinions and we should still be okay with each other. That's not a different opinion. Oh, it's so frustrating. And I, like, am frustrated with myself a little bit for not, like, realizing that that's what she was saying. But I do now, so hooray. It just took me a little bit to think about it. It is just so disgusting and frustrating to me. And I'm also going to point out, she didn't address anything about what is happening in the current administration, and that is another thing that I pointed out, is like, if you support what is happening, that is a problem, and I can't be okay with that. And she's just not addressing that. Now, part of my problem with them, generally speaking, in terms of current affairs, I'm not even going to say politics, because it's not politics, it's literally current affairs. Both of them tend to ignore a lot of current affairs because they don't think they are affected or whatever, or they don't think it matters. So, like, it's whatever. They are sitting here, like, they will say things, like, my mom specifically will say, well, this doesn't, like, I have my own life to worry about, and I'm living my own life. And I'm just like, yes, okay, but first of all, these things can affect your life. And secondly, that's, like, you should still care about what is happening to other people. You should still care when bad things are happening to other people. And you should want to do something about that, especially if you claim to be a Christian and a Catholic. Like, you should care about helping other people. Weird, I know. But they both tend to ignore current affairs a lot because they don't think it affects them or whatever. So my guess is that they have not been paying attention to what is happening in Minneapolis, for example. Because I feel like if you are actually a decent person, you think the government murdering people in the street is not good. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, dear listener, you think that's just fine. And I'm sorry if you think that's just fine. But maybe if you're a good person, you don't think that's good. And you think that's, a bad thing. And you should not want to be supporting that. And I would think that should be a deal breaker for most people who are actually decent people. I think that is something that should be addressed. Especially if you... the thing that bothers me is she sent me this note after that stuff happened. After there were 2 murders in Minneapolis by the government, she sent me that note and didn't address that at all. And that was also one of the things I pointed out. And that I wrote my letter before that happened. So, that's a whole nother thing. But, yeah, I am incredibly frustrated by all of the things. And I'm not trying to, be super political or anything. Personally, I don't think this is politics. I think this is just being decent human beings. And if you're a decent human being, you think your government shouldn't be murdering people in the street. You think your government shouldn't be murdering people at all, let alone out in the open in the street where people are filming you. But anyway, it's just the whole thing. But yeah. So I am frustrated by those things that my mom did in her note. I am very frustrated. Oh, this is another thing I was going to say. Like, when you sit there and say, bigotry is just a different opinion, discrimination is just a different opinion, which it is not. We have established that is not true. If you think that being racist is just having a different opinion, please stop following me and listening to my channel, because we are never going to agree on that. Unless you want to have fun listening to someone talk about stuff you disagree with, I guess. Maybe you want to do that. I don't know. But, we can, like, most people can acknowledge that that is not just a different opinion. That is one person being a terrible person and the other person being a decent person. I'm not even going to say a good person, because I don't know if I'm a good person. I think I'm a decent person, though. So, there's that. The thing that this comes down to is the paradox of tolerance. And I am paraphrasing here, because I'm not gonna, like, pull it up on Wikipedia and look it up, but the paradox of tolerance is a tolerant society risks becoming an intolerant society if it tolerates intolerance. Okay, that's gonna be confusing. I'm sorry. But I will use the example I most often hear in relation to the paradox of tolerance is this example. Here's the example that people usually use when they're trying to explain the paradox of tolerance. If you have a bar that is just a regular normal bar, and a Nazi walks in, and when I say a Nazi, I mean a very open Nazi, like someone wearing a jacket with a swastika blazoned across the back of it. And, like, they walk in and they do the Heil Hitler salute. And the people in the bar and the bar owner just lets them hang out. Then the next time they come in, they're going to bring a friend who is also a Nazi. And if that is also tolerated, because, hey, we're just trying to be tolerant and respect all opinions here, even though it's not an opinion, being a Nazi is not an opinion, being a Nazi is, you are inherently a bad person if you are a Nazi. It's not just a different opinion, you're a bad person. But anyway, tolerate the Nazi the first time. They bring a friend the next time, and then you got two Nazis in your bar, and you're just tolerating them still. Then the next time they bring a couple more friends, who are also openly very Nazi. And then the next time they all bring a couple more friends, who are all Nazis. Pretty soon, your bar is going to have more Nazis than normal people in it. And at that point, you have a Nazi bar. Because they can do anything they want then. And what are you going to do about it? They are terrible people who do not have morals. And they'll do whatever they want. They'll take it over. It's theirs now. So that is the paradox of tolerance. If you continue to tolerate intolerance, the intolerant people will eventually take over, because they are not willing to tolerate other people. They are not willing to tolerate people they dislike. And if they take over, they will not have any qualms about doing something to the people they don't tolerate. And that is the paradox. So, the moral of this paradox is that you shouldn't tolerate intolerance. Tolerating intolerance is the wrong thing to do. because it will allow intolerance to take over. You have to stop intolerance. You have to nip that in the bud. A tolerant society can never allow that, because then intolerance becomes the norm. And then you no longer have a tolerant society. We're seeing that in real time in the country we live in right now. If you live in the United States of America, which are not very united right now. That is what we are seeing, and that's, not great. Kind of depressing, actually. So this all bringing this all back to my mother's note. I am unwilling to tolerate their intolerance. And at this point, that pretty much means we cannot have a relationship. So, I don't know what they want me to do. Other than, I do know what they want me to do. They want me to pretend it's fine. They want me to look past it. They want me to just be okay with their intolerance, and I am not willing to do that. Maybe that makes me, I'm not going to say that maybe that makes me a terrible person, because I don't believe it does. I think that makes me the better person. Because I'm not willing to tolerate that just because they are my blood. I don't care. If they committed a terrible crime, I would not continue supporting them just because they are my family. That's bull. You shouldn't do that. That's just not how this works, in my opinion. I don't even think it is an opinion. I think if you are a decent person, you are not going to tolerate that kind of stuff. And a lot of people in my generation seem to be working under that premise. We cannot tolerate that kind of stuff anymore. We cannot tolerate that just because older generations tell us we have to. That's ridiculous. So, yeah. Honestly, I think I have sort of come to the, I'm waffling, and I need to not do that. I have pretty much, decided, come to the decision that I cannot have a relationship with my parents unless they are willing to radically change, and I don't think they are willing to do that. I don't think they are willing to be at all critical of their beliefs or critical of what they've been told by people who just want to hurt them and the rest of society to enrich themselves. I don't think they're willing to be critical of any of that. I don't think they are willing to reflect. I don't think they are willing to change. And yes, I think they should change. I think they should become better people. And they seem unwilling to do that. So, it's not going to happen until probably the weekend, but I keep saying probably. Again, I am still waffling, and I need to not do that. I am planning on sending a message. It will be a text message, because I can't sit around and wait for a letter or anything like that. But I am going to send a message to my mom, giving her an ultimatum. And the ultimatum I have come up with is the bare minimum that they would have to do in order for me to ever want any kind of relationship with them again. The bare minimum is they would have to stop supporting and denounce the current administration. That is the bare minimum. That will not fix our relationship, because there are a lot of other issues that I have unpacked over the past year. So that won't fix everything. But that would at least give me a reason to want to speak to them again. I don't think they are willing to do that. So I don't think it will happen. And this is my opinion. I think if someone is unwilling to denounce and stop supporting bad people in order to have a relationship with their child, they probably don't care about their child very much. That is an opinion. I can't state that for a fact, but, you know. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. I mean, I will find a I'll find a coherent way to word it, but at this point, that is where I'm at. At the very least, if they ever want me to speak to them again, they are going to have to do at least that much. And I don't think they will. But I am willing to be pleasantly surprised. So we'll see what happens. But again, that's not going to happen until, like, the weekend. Because I am already too stressed with work and stuff. So I'll have to wait until the weekend. But yeah, hurrah, yay, woohoo. Thanks for listening. This got a little bit ranty, and I apologize for that. It has been a year already. This year, 2026, has been a problem. We'll get past it eventually. We'll survive, I'm sure. But it has been a thing, and I am ready for it to be over. But it's only February. Anyway, thank you for listening if you did. I really do appreciate that. Let me know if you have any suggestions for future recording topics. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know. I would appreciate that too. Otherwise, this has been my Riacom. Unpacking the issues I had with my mother's note to me. And I will try and chat at you again soon. Bye!